Eli Ward moved through the long metal hallway, like a shadow no one cared about. He carried a small toolbox in one hand and a scanner in the other. Around him, dozens of tall alien officers walked past, talking loudly, giving orders, or staring at holoscreens. No one looked at him. No one greeted him. To most of them, he was just the human technician, a tiny piece of the giant space station. Eli did not mind it most days. He liked fixing things. Machines made sense to him. People, not so much. And aliens, even less. He stopped beside a power panel, knelt down, and opened it. Sparks shot out for a moment. Eli flinched, but quickly got to work. He hummed softly, a small habit he had when he was nervous. The wires were old, tangled, and overused, but he gently untwisted them and replaced a weak capacitor. 2 alien soldiers walked past him. One pointed and whispered, "Look, the humanists play with wires again." The other laughed. Eli heard it, but pretended he didn't. He wrapped the panel and moved on to his next task. The giant station, called Vargon Prime, was the center of military power for half the galaxy. Every species in the Alliance had soldiers and ships here. Only a few humans lived on the station, usually in small jobs like cleaning, patching hull cracks, or repairing air vents. Humans were new to the Alliance and not trusted for anything important. Eli accepted that too. But sometimes late at night, he wondered if they were wrong about humans being weak. He reached the central power hub, a bright round room filled with glowing cores and humming engines. He scanned the systems and frowned. Something was off. The readings flickered in strange patterns. Power levels dropped and rose too quickly. Before he could check again, alarms exploded in the room. Red lights flashed everywhere. A deep voice echoed through the station speakers. "Emergency! Energy life form detected in Power Hub 2. Evacuate immediately." A crowd of alien engineers ran past Eli, pushing him aside. One shouted, "Move! Human! It's dangerous." Eli stumbled back, but then froze. On the main screen, he saw it. Something dark crawling inside the energy streams. It looked like a shadow with a glowing core. It moved like a hungry animal. It didn't just feed on energy, it devoured it. The station lights began to dim. Engines groaned. Systems crashed one by one. If the power hub collapsed, the whole station could fall from orbit and burn in the nearby planet's atmosphere. The energy creature hissed and slammed itself into the main reactor lines. Everyone ran. No one stayed to fight it. No one even tried. Eli could move it first. His heart beat fast and his hands shook. He was just a technician. He had no weapons. He had no training. But he also knew something the others didn't. He had seen this type of power behavior before. On old Earth machines that overloaded when too much energy rushed through unstable circuits. He whispered to himself, "I can slow it down." Without thinking more, he sprinted to the nearest secondary panel. He opened it, ripped out a control chip, and began rerouting power through manual lines. Sparks flew, burning his fingers, but he pushed through. Sweat dripped down his face. The energy creature turned, sensing the change. It screeched and slammed the walls. Eli kept working. He linked the emergency grid, reversed the flow, and overloaded the backup lines. When he hit the final switch, a loud boom echoed through the hub. The creature shrieked, shrinking as a reverse power flow pushed it back. It could still escape eventually, but for now, it was trapped inside the reactor shell. The hub stabilized. Lights brightened. The station stopped shaking. Eli collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. His hands trembled and his face was pale, but he had done it. He had saved the station, at least for the moment. Alien officers rushed in seconds later. They looked around the quiet room, the stable lights, the inactive alarms. One of them said, "It must have run out of energy." Another said, "Lucky timing." None of them noticed Eli at first. When they finally did, they only frowned and said, "Why are you still here? Leave the hub." Eli stood up quietly. He didn't argue. He picked up his toolbox and walked away. But as he stepped out of the power hub, he felt a strange chill. Someone was watching him. At the end of the hallway stood a tall figure covered in dark armor. His presence was heavy, almost frightening. Every alien who passed him bowed quickly and kept their heads low. Eli recognized him immediately. General Kalor, the most feared commander in the Alliance. The general's glowing eyes stayed fixed on Eli, not with anger, not with disgust, but with interest. As Eli walked past, the general gave a slow nod, a nod of respect. Eli froze. No one respected the human, but today someone did. Eli did not sleep that night. His small technician room felt too quiet, and his mind kept replaying the moment General Kalor nodded at him. It felt unreal. Everyone feared the general. Even high-ranking officers avoided his path. But he had looked at Eli like he was someone important. Eli sat on his narrow bed, rubbing his tired eyes. He tried to convince himself it was nothing. Maybe he imagined it. Maybe the general had just been looking past him. But deep down, he knew the truth. The general had seen what Eli did in the power hub, and the general wanted something. The next morning, before Eli could get breakfast, the door to his room slid open by itself. Eli jumped to his feet. 2 armored guards stood outside. Their dark armor reflected the hallway lights. Both looked down at him with blank faces. "Human Eli Ward," one said. "General Kalor summons you." Eli swallowed hard. No one refused the summons. He grabbed his work jacket and followed the guards. They walked fast, and Eli nearly had to jog to keep up. They led him up several levels, past places he had never been allowed to enter before. Doors opened with special codes, and rooms grew more elegant the farther they went. Finally, they stopped outside a tall black door. The guard stepped aside. "He is expecting you." Eli stepped inside slowly. The room was dim, lit only by a few glowing blue screens. At the center stood General Kalor. His tall figure seemed even larger in the quiet room. His armor was not for show. Every part of it looked like it had survived 100 battles. Eli felt small. The general turned. His deep voice filled the room. "You are the human who stabilized the power hub." Eli's heart almost stopped. He nodded nervously. "Yes, sir. I just did what I could. It was not much." The general stepped closer. "Not much? Thousands would have died if the hub collapsed. You acted when trained officers ran." Eli looked down at his shoes. No one had ever praised him like this before. He wasn't sure how to respond. General Kalor studied him with glowing eyes. "Tell me, human, how did you trap the creature?" Eli hesitated. Aliens rarely asked humans for explanations. They usually ordered them around or ignored them. But the general waited patiently. Eli explained slowly, using simple words. He talked about reversing energy flow, rerouting backup lines, and creating a short-term energy cage. He expected the general to interrupt, but instead, Kalor listened closely, almost like he was memorizing every detail. When Eli finished, there was a long silence. Then the general said in a low voice, "Your knowledge is rare, perhaps unique." Eli blinked. "But I'm just a mechanic." Kalor shook his head. "No, you see things others cannot. You understand machines in ways even our engineers struggle with." He turned away and activated a holoscreen. A strange image appeared, an outline of a creature made of pure energy, similar to the one Eli had seen in the power hub, but larger and alive. "This creature is not natural," the general said. "It was created, designed, and it is not the only one." Eli felt cold. "More of them?" "Yes, and they are hunting the station." Eli's hands tightened. "Why me? Why tell a human technician?" The general's voice lowered. "Because you're the only one who stopped one." Eli felt his heart pound. He wasn't brave. He wasn't special. He had just acted because no one else would. Kalor turned back to him. "I want to know exactly how you understood its movement and energy patterns. I want you to show me what humans do when they solve problems." Eli frowned in confusion. "Show you?" "Yes," Kalor said. "Teach me. Teach my officers. Teach the Alliance." Eli stared, speechless. Aliens did not ask humans to teach anything. Humans were treated like they were slow learners, not skilled experts. But the general's tone was calm and serious. Eli whispered, "You really want my help? I am the most feared general in the Alliance. Kalor said. "When I bow my head to someone, it is not by accident. You saved my station. Now help me save my soldiers." Eli felt something rise in his chest. Pride, hope, maybe both. For the first time in his life, someone powerful believed in him, not because he was strong or tall or trained, but because he understood machines better than anyone else. Before he could respond, the alarm suddenly roared through the room. The lights turned red. A voice echoed through the speakers. Warning, multiple energy signatures detected outside the station. Unknown life forms approaching fast. The general straightened. His glowing eyes sharpened. He looked at Eli. "It is time, human," he said. "Your knowledge may save us again." Eli's fear returned, but so did something else, determination. For once, the galaxy needed a human, and he would not run. Eli followed General Kalor out of the command room and into the main hallway. The alarms echoed through the entire station, making the walls shake. Red lights flashed overhead, and soldiers rushed past them, shouting orders and preparing their weapons. The general moved fast, but Eli kept up the best he could. His heart raced and his hands felt cold, but he did not slow down. He had been called for a reason, and he knew it. When they reached the command deck, the giant room was filled with tension. Screens showed glowing shapes moving toward the station. They looked like dark clouds with bright cores, just like the creature Eli had trapped, but bigger, much bigger. Officers shouted reports. 6 signatures approaching. No communication signals. Energy levels rising. General Kalor raised a hand, and the room went silent. "Show me the largest one," he said. The main screen zoomed in. A huge creature pulsed with bright veins of energy. Its shape shifted like smoke, but moved with purpose. Its core glowed so bright it hurt Eli's eyes for a moment. Eli swallowed hard. "It's feeding, growing. It's using the energy from space." Kalor nodded. "They evolved quickly." Eli felt a shiver. "If they reach the station, they will drain it," Kalor finished, "and everyone inside." Eli stared at the screen. The creature was almost beautiful, but in a terrifying way. It glowed like a living star, but it was hungry, very hungry. A voice from behind them called out, "General, the enemy is closing in." Kalor turned to Eli. "You understand their behavior. Tell me what they want." Eli took a slow breath. "They want power, any kind of power. They don't just eat energy. They grow stronger from it. The more they take, the harder they are to stop." Kalor studied him. "So what do we do?" Eli's mind began to spin. He remembered the smaller creature from before. These larger ones must have the same weaknesses. He stepped closer to the screen and pointed. They moved toward the strongest energy source first. "That means the main reactor. We need to weaken the signal or change the flow." The general nodded. "If we lower the reactor signature, we weaken the station." "Yes," Eli said, "but we can reroute power to areas outside the station. The creatures will follow it instead. We can pull them away." A high-ranking alien officer frowned. "Human, that sounds reckless." Another officer added, "We cannot risk the reactor." General Kalor growled, "Silence." The officers froze. The general looked back at Eli. "Which systems can you redirect safely?" Eli thought for a moment. "The outer solar panels and the satellite towers. They hold enough power to attract the creatures, but not enough to destroy the whole station if something goes wrong." Kalor nodded once. "Do it." Eli nodded and ran to the nearest control station. His fingers moved quickly across the screens. The alien interface was complicated, but he had learned enough from repairing small systems to understand the basics. While Eli worked, the enemy grew closer. The screen showed the giant energy creatures closing the distance faster and faster. Soldiers loaded weapons and strapped on armor, but they all knew their guns would be useless. You couldn't shoot energy with bullets. Eli finished the first task, redirecting power from the outer panels. He hit the final switch. The station lights flickered. Energy surged outward toward the satellite towers. The creatures reacted instantly. "They're changing direction," an officer shouted. Eli exhaled with relief. But a second later, The relief faded. One creature, bigger than all the others, did not change direction. It moved faster, heading straight for the station's core. Eli felt his stomach twist. That one is different. General Kalor stepped beside him. Explain. It's smarter, Eli whispered. Or maybe older. It knows the strongest power is here. It won't be fooled like the others. Silence filled the command deck. Kalor turned to his officers. Prepare defense shields. Eli grabbed the general's arm. No. Shields use massive energy. You'll only feed the creature. It will grow stronger. Kalor paused. What do you suggest? Eli closed his eyes for a moment and thought. He remembered the way the smaller creature reacted when power reversed. It hated unstable energy. It clung to stable flow. We have to overload the air vents around the creature's entry point, Eli said. It will confuse it. The unstable energy will make it slow down. Kalor did not question him. Do it. Eli typed commands quickly. Sweat dripped down his forehead as he worked. He activated the vents, reversed the current, and pushed chaotic bursts of power into the outer hull. A loud boom shook the station. The creature hit the hull and screamed. Eli opened his eyes and stared at the screen. The giant energy being twisted in pain, slowing its charge. Its bright core flickered. It's working. Eli shouted. General Kalor stood tall. Good. Now we finish this. But just as he spoke, the creature began to recover. Its light grew stronger again. It's adapting, Eli whispered. We don't have much time. Kalor turned toward him, his voice deep. Then we must learn faster than our enemy. Eli nodded, fear mixing with determination. The enemy had arrived, and now the real fight would begin. Eli stood in the middle of the command deck, surrounded by blinking screens, shouting officers, and the deep hum of failing systems. The giant energy creature outside continued to slam against the station's hull. Every impact made the floor shake. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lights flickered like the station was taking its last breaths. Everyone around him looked tense. Many soldiers stepped back, fear rising in their eyes. Some whispered about evacuation pods. Others said the shields would fail soon. Eli heard all of it, but he did not move. General Kalor watched him closely. The general's huge figure stood firm, but even he knew the situation was becoming dangerous. He asked, Human, what do we do next? Eli stared at the screen showing the creature. It was bigger now, almost glowing like a small star. Each beat of its core sent waves of energy across space. We have to get outside, Eli said quietly. The whole command deck froze. One officer shouted, Outside? That's suicide. No one can survive out there with that thing attacking. Another added, We should evacuate. The creature is too strong. Eli ignored them. He stepped forward and spoke louder. We can't let it reach the reactor. If it touches the core, the station will explode. It won't just kill us. It will destroy the entire system. The words hit everyone hard. Kalor nodded, understanding. You want to repair the external vents manually. Eli nodded. Yes, the systems inside are too damaged. I need to reroute the vents by hand, from outside the hull. If I can create a strong, unstable pulse, it might force the creature to pull back. Officers exchanged frightened looks. One whispered, Humans are insane. Another said, He won't survive 10 seconds. Kalor silenced them with a glare. Then he turned to Eli. You are a technician, not a soldier. You do not need to do this. Eli surprised himself with his answer. I know, but I'm the only one who understands how fast these creatures adapt. If I don't go, no one will. The general looked at him for a long moment. His glowing eyes softened. Just a little. Why you fight so hard? No one here even respects your species. Eli breathed slowly and said, Respect doesn't matter. Lives matter. And this station is my home. I'm not running. Silence fell again, thicker this time. The general gave a slow nod. Then I will escort you. Eli's eyes widened. You? But you're... Kalor's voice was calm. I do not let brave soldiers walk into danger alone, even human ones. Eli felt something tighten in his chest. He only dared to whisper, Thank you, Minutes later, Eli was suited in a pressure suit and standing in the airlock with Kalor beside him. The general's armor was larger, heavier, and stronger. He checked Eli's suit twice, making sure every seal was perfect. Outside the window, the creature loomed large, glowing like a sun ready to explode. Eli's voice shook a little. "If this goes wrong, I'm sorry." Kalor placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. His voice was strong and steady. "If this goes wrong, then we fail together. But I do not plan to fail." The airlock doors opened. A rush of cold emptiness pulled at them as they stepped out into space. Eli's boots locked onto the hull with magnetic clamps. Kalor followed with heavy steps that did not slow him at all. The creature was close, too close. Waves of energy hit them like hot wind. Eli felt his suit system strain under the pressure. He pointed toward a broken section of the vents. "There! That's where we need to reroute the pulse." Kalor took the lead, smashing broken parts away with his armored fists. Eli got to work quickly, pulling open metal plates and rewiring power flows using tools strapped to his suit. His hands shook, but he forced himself to focus. There was no room for fear now. The creature screamed again. This time the sound traveled through space as a deep vibration that shook their bones. It slammed into the hull, making Eli almost lose his balance. Kalor steadied him. "Work fast, human." "I'm trying." Eli switched wires, reconnected plasma lines, and forced the vents into a new path. Sparks exploded in front of him, lighting the darkness. One spark hit his glove and burned a hole the size of a coin. Eli gasped as cold air hissed out. Kalor grabbed his arm and sealed the hole with a fast clamp. "Focus. You're almost there." Eli nodded, breathing hard. He finished the last wire and locked it in place. "It's ready," he shouted. Kalor slammed his hand onto the manual activation switch. The vents roared to life. A massive burst of unstable energy shot outward like a storm. It hit the creature directly. The creature twisted and shrieked, shrinking under the pressure. Its bright core flickered like a dying flame. "It's working," Eli cried, but the joy lasted only a second. The creature suddenly lunged toward them, desperate and furious. Eli froze. Kalor stepped forward, shielding Eli with his own body. "Run." Eli did not run. Instead, he shouted, "Activate the second vent. Now!" Kalor hit the switch again. Another unstable blast exploded into the creature, and this time the creature burst apart in a wave of fading light. Small particles drifted into space like glowing dust. Silence returned. Eli stood still, heart pounding, as the remains of the creature faded into darkness. He had not run. He had not panicked. He had fought. Kalor looked at him with something rare. True respect. "You, human," the general said, "are not weak." Eli smiled behind his cracked visor. "I guess not." For the first time in his life, he felt like he belonged. The whole command center was silent as the smoke slowly faded. Alaric stood in the middle of the ruined hall, his clothes torn, his hands shaking slightly, and his face covered with dust. He looked like someone who had been through a storm, but he was still standing. Everyone else in the room watched him with wide eyes, as if they were seeing him for the first time. The great doors at the end of the hall opened, and General Zarthos entered with his soldiers. His armor was scratched, and he walked with a limp from the battle outside, but his eyes were sharp. He looked around at the destroyed machines, the scattered enemy drones, and the human who had refused to fall. His soldiers whispered to each other. They had all heard the story now, how a simple human technician had stopped the enemy's central attack, how he had saved the entire base using only the tools he carried in his bag and the courage he carried inside him. Alaric stood still as the general approached him. He did not look proud. He did not smile. He simply breathed slowly, steady himself. He never wanted fame. He only wanted to help people survive. General Zarthos stopped right in front of him. The general's tall body cast a shadow over the human. But for the first time, that shadow did not feel heavy. It felt respectful. "You fought when others ran," the general said in his deep voice. "You solved problems my top officers could not solve. You saved my soldiers. You saved my home. And you stood your ground in front of a force that even I feared. Alaric tried to reply, but his voice shook too much. I only did what I could. That, the general said, is what makes you worthy. To everyone's shock, General Zarthos went down on one knee. The soldiers froze. The officers gasped. Some dropped their weapons. A general of the most feared army in the sector, bowing to a human who, just days earlier, no one cared about, no one listened to, no one respected. Alaric's eyes widened. General, please, you don't have to. I must, Zarthos said without looking up, because I judged you by your size, your voice, and your quiet nature. I did not see your strength until you showed it in the moment of greatest danger. The general finally raised his head. His voice softened. I bow to the human who saved us all. Alaric felt something tighten in his chest. Not pride, not power, just relief. Relief that all the struggle and fear had not been for nothing. The soldiers around him began to slowly kneel too, one after another, until the whole hall was filled with warriors bowing. The sound of armor hitting the ground echoed like thunder. Alaric looked around, overwhelmed. I don't understand. I'm just me. You are the one who stood when others fell, Zarthos said. You are the one who faced the enemy alone. Respect is not given by rank or strength. Respect is earned by actions, and you earn more than any of us. For the first time, Alaric lifted his chin. He did not feel small anymore. He felt seen. He felt valued. And in that moment, he realized something important. A person does not need to be strong in body to be strong in heart. Outside, the sky began to clear, the smoke drifting away as sunlight shone through. The alarms went silent. The battle was over. General Zarthos rose to his feet and placed a heavy hand on Alaric's shoulder. From this day, you are not a technician. You are the one this army will follow if darkness comes again. Alaric let out a slow breath. He did not know what the future would bring, but he knew one thing. He would not be invisible anymore. The army stood behind him. The general bowed to him. And for the first time in his life, everyone finally saw the human who had been there all along.